Welcome back, viewers. It is I, James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, the guy on the bike. We are in West Chelsea. We're gonna run in and check out an exhibition. Okay, we're gonna run into the La Space, and they are collaborating with Pierogi for a show by John O'Connor titled Man Bites Dog Bites Man. We snagged John O'Connor. Is it John O'Connor or John J. O'Connor?
Still John J, but I...
John J.
Yeah, but I use John O'Connor, it's fine.
Is that because you want to distinguish yourself from the Cardinal of New York?
Yeah,
wasn't he
there's many John O'Connors and John J's.
Are you Catholic?
I was, yeah.
Okay. Okay, we got two reasons to keep the J in there. Well, we're going to be looking around at your show kind of briefly, and we're going to try to walk through and maybe talk a little bit about some of the things. So tell me, how recent is a lot of the work here? You said I got a show of yours in like 2016, something like that, or?
Yeah, so last show was 2016. So at least in New York, I've done some group things here and there, but so yeah, this work is probably all mostly from that time forward. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the pieces. Keep talking.
Yeah, like these. Some of these in the front room are the most recent. Some in the back are also fairly recent as well. But yeah, drawings, color pencil, graphite.
Now, am I wrong, or have you gotten kind of increased your scale a little bit? And
yeah, got a little bigger. My studio moved up to outside of the city, so I have a little bit more room. So
this is 81 by 67 inches. So
yeah,
it's like 6.5. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I work right on the wall, pin them up, and work on paper. So.
And we were just I was listening and talked to some people who were visiting, and you're talking about how long you worked on some of these drawings. This is years?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on this on and off. I mean, I start them and then kind of move around. You know, I sort of bounce around. So
okay,
this is working on these since 2016. I mean, it's really sad, but also they take time and they slowly kind of evolve.
Well, it's kind of nice to let them sit around and age properly, and you can change your mind a little bit. Yeah. I was actually noticing you've got, is this gesso that you're kind of whiting out areas, and is that
gesso is
something new as well?
Yeah, a little bit, you know. So gesso's there, and then in this area too, and then I draw back over.
Zugpoang, is that the title?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a chess term. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
We better get moving, or we're going to be here all night.
This is cool. Thanks for.
This is titled
Hitchcock's Rope.
Hitchcock's Rope.
Yeah.
A reference to Alfred Hitchcock, and okay.
Sort of depiction of time in that film.
2019. Yeah. Also, I like the notations and things. What are these? These are numbers dealing with the dates.
This is about sort of perception of time, like versus actual time. So these are the notes I test myself. I did anyway. I would kind of try to guess what time it was at various times of the day, and then I would actually compare it to the actual time, and use the difference to sort of create a plot on a grid. So use the error to create the pattern from that. I mean, it's not a one-to-one, but it's like the general principle or process that was.
Okay, let's move into the next room here. This is the peripatetic part of this. And again, another one of the huge pieces. Also, this one I think is a little different from what I've seen because you really filled in everything from edge to edge, and there's no blank paper in here.
Yeah.
And
from top left, it sort of spirals around into the center. And
this is your car fan thing. Is that what this is?
Chain car crash. So point of view change from you looking in front of you, like as if you're hitting a car, to you looking behind you as if you're being hit, and the cars move from like really inexpensive, purely functional, and as they spiral towards the center, they go to like luxury cars. They become kind of lose their function to become luxury objects. Then they move into like cars from films and television shows, and eventually in the center they start turning into just the shape of a car, like a car is an abstraction or like an idea.
Okay, there's the Flintstone car.
Sort of like the idea of transfer of wealth.
The Jetson car.
Transfer of energy in the way the car crashes from one into the other. At least generally.
So where do you get your little images? Do you take these from old magazines or hot rod magazines, stuff
All over
like
the place.
that?
Yeah, screenshots, clip art, some stuff, also magazines.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, a variety of places where I get them from. Yeah. Well, you talked about
I wanted to talk to you about the idea, and this goes back to Pierogi and the whole Williamsburg art scene, and a thing that I kind of talked about called the meta drawings. I think Pierogi had a couple people. There were you and Dawn Clements, the late Dawn Clements, the late great Dawn Clements, and some other people that were working on huge drawings. I think William Powhida is somebody that also does that kind of work. So what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that there is still a group of people that are kind of carrying on the meta drawing thing? You think you've influenced people beyond just the Williamsburg crew?
I don't see a lot of large drawing now. I don't know if you do, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know that's what I've always loved about like Dawn's work in particular.
Right. Okay.
The other artists, but yeah.
Let's move into the other thing.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the drawings. I still think there are people that are doing large drawings and things like that. Maybe they're dealing with other things. But I did think that that was one of the unique things that Pierogi kind of brought to the scene.
Yeah.
Were you also in one of the Greater New York shows at PS1?
Yeah, 2005.
2005.
Some time ago.
Back when you were a youngster.
I know, yeah.
What's the title of this one?
Together. And there's like a cutout area too in the center, so it's a little hard to see, but so it's a layer.
Oh yeah,
And
okay.
actually on the edges too, there's a little cutout, so has like multiple layers to it.
Well, getting back to the idea of the meta drawing, you spend a lot of time on these and a lot of effort, and what my question would be, why not just make paintings? It seems like the drawings are going to be more fragile, they're not going to hold up that well over time.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you were concerned about that, I would think maybe you'd want to be making paintings, or is there something that's really special about a work on paper?
Yeah, I mean, I love the paper and drawings more. I always have.
Okay.
I think because in part, it's really like, I can make it sculptural, so like in this piece, in terms of shape.
Right, I noticed that you started to sculpting the edges on some of these.
What I also love is drawing is like the act of sort of drawing. It feels like some of the most basic, drawing since I was a kid.
So you like the physical
love that.
grinding the stuff in?
I love and also the sort of surface has like between maybe a diagram.
Right.
You're note taking or you're writing, and that's on paper generally. And then also a kind of final image which can be resolved, clear.
So it kind of fits somewhere between writing, painting,
I think so. Yeah.
drawing, thinking.
And what I love about paper too is like I can try to erase or I can cover something up, but generally I have to live with everything I've done. And that to me is interesting because it collapses the space between like the ideas generation with the first mark I make and the final mark you make come together.
Right, it's not like you can paint something over really convincingly and not let it show
I
through.
always used to do that.
Yeah.
Drawing didn't sort of push me, and I just think there's a combination of those things that makes me. I use paint in some things, but I just love the drawing part of paper more than anything really.
So what's the title of this piece?
This is part of a
This
series.
is big.
Yeah.
Is this Echo? Is that what that
Yeah. So this is a series of drawings that are interconnected.
2023,
Yeah.
89 by 70.
And I'm doing one. For
That's
each letter
nearly
of the
8
alphabet.
feet tall by 6. That's big.
Yeah, this is letter E, so I'm going to do A through Z, and maybe by the time if I can live long enough. But they each had stories.
And you're how far? You're at B. Oh, you're E.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the 5th.
Okay. Well,
I intend to go through the 26th. We'll see.
we've got some smaller works here. Again, I think you've got a real interest in the writing part of this, and this kind of these twisted. I would guess I would call that a poem. I guess somehow, something like that.
Yeah. And the kind of text part as a font, as a shape. There's a lot of looping in the images too. Things kind of moving back to the starting point. It's like a conceptual idea, but also I love visually sort of things that kind of all are self-contained within the paper.
Do you have a favorite font?
No, most of these I make up myself. I mean,
Really?
some of them I reference, but yeah, I don't have like an.
So you're not into things like Hottensteller or
No.
some of my favorite typefaces.
A lot of it, yeah, it's mostly my own. But I mean, I do pull, like, say, lottery, for example, is from a certain, particular source. But
And are you using projectors to get those things that you borrow from other sources? You
more
just
or less kind of
freehand?
freehand eyeball it, and
Oh, that's great.
do my best to get it
got
right.
some
They're not as good up close if
Lottery.
you actually see them. But I like that actually. They're pretty close, but but not exact.
We got some here that are over the stairwells. I'm not going to go down there.
That's another shaped one as well.
Do you feel like you've been developing these as far as your color and palette things go as well? It seems they're a little more sophisticated, or
Yeah.
I hate to use this term, more painterly, just because of the kind of the saturated color things that you're going for.
And different uses of like leaving the paper white. I think there's like a change. Like this one is basically all filled in, the other one as well. So
Right.
it becomes more. The color sort of is through the entire piece.
Seeing some sculptures here.
Yeah. So we kind of thought about the relationship between the sculptures and the drawings. Like these, I've been doing these rods for a while, and then they have a kind of somewhat of a similar feel to the bands in this drawing.
I was also thinking that these kind of make me think of some of the measuring sticks that you would see with numbers and things on them.
Yep. Yeah, sort of different ideas. I mean, each piece kind of has its own world, so it's like a little, it's got its own sort of set of information, which is what I love, but also it's a lot to take in. I think.
So is this a little older piece
This
here?
one's a little bit older, yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can see we've got a lot more open paper in here, and the white part of that is nice. Hey, do you know who I am? Hard for me to tell. Guess, are you me? No, give me a clue. Okay, you're a frustrated writer?
No, but yeah, it was talking to an early form of a chatbot, which actually a friend of mine invented it, and it actually says only words that were said to it by other human beings, and it's an interesting bot, and that it sort of has a collective way of speaking. But I sort of hope that at a certain point in the drawing, you get lost in terms of who was talking to who, or who was the identity of who. So almost as if the bot or the person got lost. And I think it maybe feels more relevant now than it did back.
Well, you're familiar with Alan Turing,
Of course, yeah.
computer guy, and the Turing test?
So the clever bot this is based on, and that
Yes.
was the first bot that actually passed a version of the Turing test called that won the Loebner Prize back in, I think it was back in 2011 maybe. Of course, it could be, my date could be wrong. But so it's purely conversational, but I love using it as, like I did anyway at the time, as a kind of way to tap into that idea.
Well, I heard that one of the ways that you could tell the difference between whether or not you're talking to a bot or a human being was that bots don't understand nonsense.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
So-
Yeah.
I'm safe.
Right there.
I'm
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at the sculpture, and here are some other things. I haven't seen any of these pieces.
Yeah.
What would you call these? It's more like, is this bronze or?
No, it's actually painted like a board, like a mat board, which I cut out and so these are actually painted. So there's some paint in here.
Got some paint going, okay.
Yeah, and I love the idea that they sort of have this like precarious balance where they feel a little bit like they're floating.
And you've got them tied up to the ceiling so they don't flop over.
Yeah, but at a lot of points you can't even see. There's like a moment where it feels like it's almost like magic, I guess.
So we've seen your pieces that have text in there.
Yeah.
Are these sequence of numbers
Yep.
relevant somehow? There's mathematics, something going on in
Yeah,
there?
each one has, again, whether it's text or a sort of numerical sequence. It has
Right.
logic and related to the structure of the piece itself. So this actually is based on the title of the show. So it's a recursive text that is also numbers and a story.
Man bites dog bites man?
Yeah. So, and I used the text and the numerical sequence to plot the original structure of the mat board, and then cut it out, painted it, and sort of connected it into a loop. Anyway, a lot of information. Who knows?
Yeah, you're spending a lot of time thinking about stuff and making notes. Okay, here comes this guy. This guy.
These are drawings. They're part drawing, part print. I make these when I'm falling asleep at night. So not very hard to do. But I put a piece of paper on my chest and a pencil, and as I fall asleep, makes a mark. When I get up in the morning, I scan it like a piece of evidence. Invert it, and then I write if I had a dream.
Are you familiar with the diagrams of Rudolf Steiner at all?
Yes.
I was going to say, that kind of makes me think of this. You know, we're going to wrap up looking at this piece, which I guess relates a lot to the sculptural things, because I see the little lines with the numbers and the texts. And okay, this is a big piece.
Yeah, it has a similar feel to those sculptures. This is interconnected. This has sort of all text that's related to historical events, present events, and then also predictions for the future. And the language is what links them. So the last word of one statement is the first word of the next. And it's like one continuous line that runs through the whole thing.
So how long would you work on something like this? And how much of this do you actually note out as far as the text goes? Do you have this all written down in pad somewhere? You just kind of spontaneously
piece by piece,
putting it in the drawings?
I love not knowing where it's going. Like let it just kind of unfold, you know. So this one did, like most of the others, organically kind of.
Do you have editors? I mean, is there misspelling things in here?
Yes, totally. If you look close, there's a lot of things that are.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't scrutinize it.
Yeah, I'm tired. That's always a good excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I say, it's the Celtic version of this spelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Something like that to figure to make it seem like it made sense. Anyway, thanks for coming.
Okay, John J. O'Connor. Man Bites Dog Bites Man. Is that the title of the show?
Yep. Thanks for coming.
Here at La Space and Pierogi. Nice to catch up with you. Okay, let me do my step out here. Okay, well, this is James Kalm reporting. And you can like this, share, link it up to all your social media sites. You can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, suggestions, and reviews. Don't be too harsh on John. Did I say you could subscribe? And all we ask is that you say, thank you, Kate. Oh, thank you. West 4th Trio.